A very good morning, guys, and welcome to a new daily market outlook for the 4th of December. So new week and new chances. Starting off with the dollar index, the dollar index has pulled back, of course, in towards that daily supply last week and started to push back up in towards the highs. So during last week, we found an area of resistance in the form of this buy before the sell, which is logically our area of supply, which took out this area of demand. So at the moment, we can see that price is pretty much just stalling inside that area of supply. But overall, the 4-hour structure is, of course, still bullish in towards the highs, with this being your swing low and this being your swing high. At the moment, what we're ultimately waiting for is for this high to go, which is your daily fractal high. Once that daily fractal high breaks, then we'll have far more confluence for the dollar index to start moving in towards the highs. As long as this high is respected, the overall daily fractal structure is still bearish, and there is still chance for the dollar to move further in towards the downside. However, how can we kind of like see early signs that this daily high is about to go? Well, for that we need to go in towards the 4-hour time frame. So based on the 4-hour time frame, again, it's very clear we're still bearish, guys. We have high, lower high, and this is now, of course, a new potential lower high. So what I was waiting for pretty much on Friday was, of course, an impulse from this sell before the buy. However, we can see that this area of supply held very beautifully. Overall, pretty much we had this liquidity high, and that got taken out over here on Thursday, impulsing towards the downside. However, overall, the fractal structure was still respected. So this low was still respected over here, and from there we pushed back up in towards the highs and formed a new high over here. However, we can see kind of like the bullish intentions, of course, coming in, but then once we came pretty much in towards this refined area of supply within this overall 4-hour buy before the sell, the market decided to crash in towards the downside. So what we can now see is pretty much that fractal structure was bearish, is now bullish. Why is it now bullish? Well, overall here, this was your fractal high that formed on Friday evening, because that is the high that broke this low. Then structure shifted. However, we still have this very clear area of supply, which is your buy before a massive drop in towards downside. So main key priority for today is, can we break the highs over here at the top of this buy before the sell? If we can break that high, then I do have confidence that this area of supply will go. But as long as that high is respected, still expect further downside from the dollar index, potentially, for example, in towards this sell for the buy down below over here, which is then going to be a reaction point. But then likely the dollar index is going to form another new lower low, because, guys, we are still bearish over here on 4-hour swing structure. And as long as we remain bearish, and again, this is also your daily fractal high, we still expect the dollar index to move downwards. However, a shift in momentum will definitely come, in my opinion, if we're able to take out this high over here of this buy before the sell. Until then, we still expect for the downside from the dollar index, or you can use it as kind of like a downside confluence point. Moving on in towards Eurodollar. So Eurodollar is looking very good for further downside, in my opinion. Overall, what we can see, of course, is that we started selling off last week in towards the downside. So I think it was Thursday or Friday I was mentioning, obviously we have kind of like this 4-hour supply zone over here, with this being your fractal high. Price pushed in towards the downside, but then there's so much momentum that we just break again in towards the downside. So another fractal low break, meaning that at the moment this is your fractal high, this is your fractal low. So overall the structure is still bearish. So with that in mind, we can now see that last night during Asian session, we pretty much moved in towards this buy before the sell over here, which is now, of course, the supply zone. And is pretty much your supply flow in towards the downside. And as long as this high is respected, we still expect the low over here to break. As well, we pretty much already took all the liquidity from underneath this low, and still we're seeing bearish intentions. Therefore, I'm still happy to look for those shorts in towards the downside. Additionally, if we are able to break this low over here and close below it, the 4-hour swing will then be bearish, and I'll be happy to keep on looking for those shorts in towards the downside. Here we, of course, have a very big gap within the market, which I look to fill very rapidly on euro dollar. Going in towards the 15-minute time frame over here, we can also see that the 15-minute at the moment is bearish. Overall, this is your swing high over here, and this is your swing low. So price overall pulled back in towards the overall premium of the range, in towards the gray zone, as we can clearly see, pushed in towards this 15-minute order block, refined over here. and started pushing in towards the downside. So we had kind of like this internal structure which flipped bullish over here, so kind of like push, push, push. Then people would start to look for longs in the anticipation of further upside, but then we can see that we broke this low over here last night during Asian session, and this is now your internal high, and again an internal low break. So at the moment we're inside this buy before the sell over here, from where I definitely do expect further downside to come for euro dollar, as of now. So it's looking good for euro dollar. An additional confluence point that I'm looking at is of course the daily. So the daily broke fractal structure, so this is an early tail sign in comparison to the dollar that euro dollar might be ready to push downwards. As you can clearly see, kind of like a slowdown in towards the highs, coming in towards supply, big bearish reaction, now broke this fractal low over here. So ultimately, we're going to be looking for downside. I would like to see kind of like a stronger push in towards the downside, still a lot of liquidity underneath these lows, and then kind of fill up this gap eventually back down in towards this daily sell before the buy order block. So that's what I'm looking for on euro dollar. I'm looking for shorts today. So keep an eye on that 15-minute time frame. Now moving on in towards Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar, of course, also inside supply. Early sellers from resistance over here have now got taken out. So potentially we are going to be ready to push in towards the downside. Obviously looking for this daily fractal low to go. Pushing now in towards the 4-hour. Still slightly more downside is expected. If we follow order flow, we had supply over here, reaction, then we had supply over here, again reaction and resistance, but then we push back up. So now this is your demand zone, so let's wait for price to push in towards there. Still guys, I am more favorable of further downside eventually on Aussie dollar. I definitely think that there should be a correction incoming. If this is your low and all the way up here we have now your high, there should be a deeper correction, but let's see. I mean, we could potentially still move back up from this area of demand. I'm not going to be shorting Aussie dollar like euro dollar. I'll be waiting definitely for that 4-hour fractal break to happen, and then we'll start looking for those shorts, because then order flow will be again in our favor. After the 4-hour BOS, we expect a pullback, so then we look to trade order flow back down at least in towards the 50% mark of the overall swing range. It's not going to focus too much on Aussie dollar today, waiting for development. Pound dollar, so pound dollar is kind of stuck. We have now tapped in towards this sell for the buy, which is your demand zone, pretty similar to Aussie dollar, but the difference is that we are still stuck inside this supply zone and didn't actually break that supply zone. So stuck inside supply, and now we have demand. So let's wait and see, can we break in towards the downside? Then we look for shorts, or if we break in towards the upside, then ultimately you could be looking for longs once again in towards a higher zone. But I do favor those shorts purely because of the daily being in supply, and additionally also the weekly being in this buy before the sell as well. But of course I will keep in mind that we can still move up higher on the daily. On the daily we still have quite a lot of trendline liquidity situated above these highs over here, and we still have this fresh buy before the sell where we could sell from. So that's why I'm keeping in mind, okay, we could still move up higher, but for now I'm just focusing on today, and focusing on today I mean the 4-hour time frame, and then based on that we still are stuck in between supply and demand. So let's wait. I do favor shorts purely because of kind of like the trendline liquidity which we have, or the liquidity that we have over here. Additionally, premium versus discount, we still need to push down in towards the 50% mark where that liquidity lies as well. So therefore I would like to look for further downside from pound dollar, but not the cleanest setup due to us being stuck in demand over here. Need to break this fractal low, but once that fractal low breaks, then you're pretty much already in that 50% mark, right? So still euro dollar looking better, but that's kind of like what I'm looking for on pound dollar. Kiwi dollar, daily time frame overall, I mean still in supply, had a BOS, so waiting for a pullback in towards the downside, in towards fresh areas of demand. As we can see, this area of demand has already been touched over here by this wick. Then again, if you draw in this demand zone, already got touched over here by this sell for the buy candle. So pretty much what you're now waiting for is down below over here. These two fresh areas of daily demand is what I'm kind of like eyeing up. But for that to happen, I need a daily fractal structure break. So I need this low over here to go, and then it will be better to look for those shorts. But overall, again, similar to pound dollar and Aussie dollar more like Aussie dollar, stuck inside this area of demand if we react bullish to this area of demand, of course, price will just start pushing up higher. Just keep an eye on the 15 as well. What I'll be looking for is for that low to break over here of this bullish candle. Once that low breaks, then we could potentially start seeing further downside from Kiwi dollar. Last of all, of course, gold. So gold, crazy wick in towards 2150. If I am correct, all-time high for gold. So pretty much anticipated that for quite some time, of course. I mean, when an asset or commodity or whatever you want to call it hits an all-time high, of course, it kind of gets trickier to trade in the sense that you're reaching areas of resistance that you've never touched before. So it's harder to say, here's a supply zone, so now I expect a pullback. So you have to be more hesitant when, let's say taking profits or whatever. But at the moment, what I'm of course waiting for is just a pullback in towards this range over here, where a lot of orders still lie. As you can clearly see, price was just charging before that massive impulse in towards the highs. So now waiting for price just to push back down in towards the sub for the buy, and then, for example, accumulate again, and then we'll look for that bullish structure to trade gold back in towards the highs. So just wait slightly more for a pullback towards like 2050. Okay guys, so thank you so much for tuning in. Wish you all a fantastic day. If you have any questions whatsoever, make sure to join the Discord. I'm active there daily, and we will speak soon. Thanks guys.